Hi, my name is Kyle Kelly. Chose to do my presentation on the criminalization of social class. For the first slide, in this picture, you can see a fenced area with a very definitive barbed wire topping on there. To me, that signifies the separation of the upper class from the lower class and the willingness and need to separate the two, with the risk of injury in order to get to one class or the other. Typically, if you're in the upper class and you fall to the lower class, you are injured. And if you try and go from the lower class to the upper class, it is criminalized and you are put in jail, fined, or, just really looked down upon by the upper class. Um, let's move on here. So in this photo, you can see, as it says, we all want to rise to the top of the social ladder and be rich and famous is the first sentence there. Lower class people trying to live like movie stars and turn to crime, addiction, and most of them ultimately never make it. This picture was taken while we were on vacation in Los Angeles. It is not a fantastic picture of the Hollywood sign, but a decent one enough for this. I was a victim of this myself. I was living in a, upper middle class family. Thought that, we were rich and decided to drink and party and not give a crap about anyone or anything else, to the point of falling into addiction and being ingrained in the system after that for some time. Here, you can see a beautiful photo of the skyline. It is over, the skyline's in the backdrop. You can see at the forefront there is, graffiti-ridden buildings. I like to, show this as the upper class looking down on the lower class and the graffiti-ridden building of the lower class. But still, while the skyline draws your attention, what's closer to you and what's kind of in your face is that lower class and kind of that poverty. Um, and being in this poverty is typically criminalized by, making artwork like this a crime, making living on the streets or sleeping in your car a crime, making just about everything you can possibly do to survive being poor, criminal in some way, shape, or form. Um, Photo number four is this is two of my five kids. We were actually at Disneyland. I like to include this photo is, it says in the text how the upper class like to take things for granted, like safety and security. Um, and you can see that, while they're legitimately safe, this kind of illustrates, even children can be out on the streets, and the streets aren't paved with gold like you would think as a child. They're dirty and rough and hard on people. Um, I did include this because I thought my kids were cute. However, it does have a nice and broad meaning there. So in this, I quoted Dolan in 2024. The criminalization of poor people happens at the intersectional oppressions of race, class, ability, and gender identity. The criminalization of children is especially inhumane. Here we can see that, the lower and middle class, the hardworking class, even then, this is a barren parking lot that's partially flooded. It just shows the emptiness that comes with, um, even after a hard day's work, it really doesn't, because it's all taken away by taxes and by others. Um, and ultimately, a lot of those people are criminalized in, being too tired to drive or, um, you know, utilizing some form of intoxicants just to stay awake to get the job done. Um, so this really kind of shows that, even the rich and the poor have that barren parking lot, have that emptiness. I'm here. This is actually down the street from my home, taken from the safety of a parked car. On this side of the street is where the kind of more modest, hardworking, animal having, kind of ranch uh, homes where they have horses, animals, so on and so forth, where they work hard for what they earn. Directly across the street, which I should have also included in the slide, is a gated community full of multi-million-dollar homes, and it just goes to show that the upper class looks down on the other side of the road, because we work hard for our money, and we worked hard to live in the same area when they just came in and kind of took it over. So and these people in this area don't really have history with law enforcement. They don't really have that, but sometimes we can get noise complaints, and it can kind of turn into a history with law enforcement when the upper class kind of moves in and makes it known. So I like to include this picture because of the duality of it. You can see the city lights in the background that kind of show the upper class enjoying the nightlife of the big bright city, while the lower class is blinded by their power. Um, it really shows, you know, how there is a very definitive line between the darkness that comes with everyday survival and everything you do being criminalized, um, and the light of being in the upper class. Although, you know, I was going to start reading, but I decided not to. So here you can see, some very nice leveled dirt, and in the bottom right corner you can see, concrete and trees on the outsides of all those fences. And why I included this and what I like to signify with this is, even though the lower class has something, it's still dirt. Whether it's nice dirt or whatever it is, it's still dirt. And the upper class makes it known that even though they have something, they try and take everything they can from them and maintain a separation, further criminalizing them and putting them in these fences, behind bars, and making the fact that they don't have money um, an issue. And I wanted to go back a couple slides and talk about intersectionality, because poverty knows no bounds. I mean, you can be any race, any sexual orientation, any gender identity, any class, and poverty can find you and stick you into that. So this topic really has a ton of intersectionality in every facet of the things we've studied in class. This one here is a photograph I took with the permission of the Parks and Rec. This is actually very late at night, and I included this. The meaning that I put in the text is that when a community comes together, they can really light the way. And what this picture is legitimately illustrating is all the people in this group using their cell phone flashlights, and the light reflection that you can see on the clouds is without, with full legitimacy, the light reflection from those lights, so they can really light up the night and light the way for people when we come together. This photo I thought was probably the most poetic in the whole 10, because it shows the dirty lens, it shows the fences, it shows kind of a barren landscape, but beyond all of that is the beautiful sunrise. Here we we look at the world through a dirty lens, whether that be media or anything else, and it really kind of tries to burden us from seeing the beauty of the world. That is the end of my presentation. There's my sources, and thank you guys for listening and hanging out with me.